Can we make it? We can. How about that? All right. What's up? Woo! Hot and saucy. I don't think so, lady. Ooh, 2 for 1. My favorite. Alright, so I'm coming to you live from the original Dead Island. And I'm here to talk to you guys about something that I have noticed about some YouTube videos since Dead Island 2 came out. The one thing I've noticed is that people keep talking about, oh, well, Dead Island was actually better. Some people have actually made that claim, and I can't help but notice that a lot of those people are probably someone who bought they bought Dead Island just to do a video because they were wanting to make like content, right? So they'll hang out in in the resort area and they'll look at this big map of the resort area and they'll be like, oh yeah, and like there's cars you can drive and look how like there's so much to do and explore and there's so many side missions. Okay. First of all, anyone who's a veteran of Dead Island will tell you that it's probably not in your best interest to do every single side mission in the game, especially if you're playing it for the first time. Oh, the sound just, did you hear that? Like the sound just completely died. Okay. So the reason why is because every mission that you do, you take a big chance on losing weapons and losing resources just to finish the side quest. So you really do need to pick and choose what you do. Dead Island does have a lot of side quests, but it's always wise to only do the ones that benefit you, the player. Okay, because unlike Dead Island 2, if you were to lose your weapons, you can't go to a storage locker like in the second game and recover lost weapons. If you throw your weapon, because I mean, throwing weapons in this game is a big deal, but if you throw a weapon and it clips through a wall or something, or clips through the street, or just completely disappears on you, or you just miss a zombie, you don't get that weapon back. You don't get that weapon back. Nada. No. So you had to be very careful what side missions you actually did in this game. Now you'll notice in the town of Moresby here, there are some vehicles that you can drive. Let's see here. You got, I think, 2. Is it 2? Yeah, there's 1 over here. And then there'll be like 1 over here. And is there another one around here somewhere? Yeah, but I mean, even if we were to make it to those vehicles, I could show you that if you get in that vehicle, the sun visor's down. So you're driving half blind through the city, and that is that's something that was introduced with the definitive edition. The vehicles in this part of the game it's actually not to your advantage to get in those vehicles. Zombies can run up alongside the vehicle and literally beat the snot out of you through the car door. So you better have a very specific reason for driving, and usually you do, because what happens when you get to the jungle is that you will meet a man who has a boat, and he pulls up along the boat docks, and you actually have to, later in the game, traverse through the city, put some gas tanks, some gas cans in the back of one of these vehicles, and you will drive it to him. But unfortunately, with the definitive edition, you will be driving blind. So driving in this game is it's not a boon to the experience. In the First part of the map, it's just padding. It's all about getting from point A to point B. It may be exciting the first time you do it, but it's not really all that exciting. You're just having to drive just to drive. In this part of the game, I feel like Act 2 is where the game really becomes that game. Okay, it really becomes like that's when the game really starts to crank up everything. Uh, Driving is seriously not a thing here. This is the part of Dead Island that like where things really start to matter. Driving doesn't matter in this part of the game. It's actually a detriment to your gameplay if you try to drive around town in one of those vehicles, especially in the definitive edition when the visors are down and you're half blind anyway. Another thing about this game that you have to be worried about is if you were to be like if we let's say we jump up on this vehicle here and we get the attention of these zombies. We're very lucky right now because none of these zombies are holding a butcher's knife or a hammer or a wrench. Because if they were holding a hammer or a wrench, you know what they could do? They could throw it at you. They could throw it at you, and it would either take most of your health, a good portion of your health, or it would kill you outright. They could kill you outright. And might I add that the melee play in this game is not nearly as good as the second game. You can't look at what I just did there and say that that's better than the second game. For its time, yeah, that was good. Like, that was really satisfying. The second game does melee so much better. The only thing this game really does better than the second game is the throwing weapons. But the second game does guns so much better. I can kind of see where throwing wasn't really like that big of a deal. Like being able to throw your weapon and cause like hella damage, right? Was so critical in this game. But the second game's firearms are so much better. You don't really need to throw your weapon. So I'll give them that. So, I mean, yeah. The firearms in the second game pretty much takes away any reason you would need to throw a weapon. So I'll give them that. The only thing that Dead Island does better than Dead Island 2 is the sound design. It's so much better. I think Dead Island 2 could use a really good overhaul with its sound design because it's just too many moments where it's dead air. Like they don't use sound design nearly as well as this game did. So I'll give them that this game's really good with sound design. But as far as melee combat and solo gameplay wise, combat solo gameplay wise, like Dead Island 2, like it's so much better than this game. I do not recommend this game for solo players if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, don't play this game. You're going to have a terrible time with it. Because you don't know what you're in for, right? Now, I'm what you would classify as a veteran of this game, so I do know what I'm in for when I'm playing this game. And I can have a really good time with it because I know what I'm doing. Okay. But I do not recommend this game for first-time players because this game does have a lot of problems. And the quality of life is just not there. When you lose that weapon you've spent $10,000 working on with mods and this and that, and you throw it and it disappears in that wall over there, you don't get it back, honey. You don't. And if you think driving in this game is going to make it make it a better game, no, it's not going to. Driving was padding. It was always padding. Nobody ever played this game because of the driving. Nobody ever said, "Oh boy, I can't wait to escort that shaman through the jungle, facing off with butchers and thugs and infected. Yeah, I can't wait to do that part." Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said, "I can't wait to jump into that arena full of infected to impress the tribe so they'll work with me." Nobody ever said that. Yeah. That's the parts of Dead Island no one talks about. They never talk about the really hard parts. Okay. When they're trying to say that this game is better than Dead Island 2. It's not. It's not better than Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 is a superior experience because it thinks about the player's enjoyment. It thinks that it says to itself, some people are going to play this solo and we want them to have a good time. When Techland was developing Dead Island, they never said that to themselves. They were always thinking about the co-op experience. And even then, they just wanted to mess with you. Like zombies that can throw cleavers at you and insta-kill you. You know, and then like you have to like lose thousands of dollars because some zombie threw a meat cleaver at you. Like randomly. You know what I mean? Like, or you're driving down the road in a vehicle and a couple infected run up to the side of your truck and they're beating the crap out of you because you're stuck and you can't get out, and they can literally beat the crap out of you through the car door to the point where you're almost dead. Like, yeah, this game had a lot of problems. A lot. So for those people that say this game is much better than Dead Island 2, they're either not remembering this game correctly or they've not actually played the game and they just watched some YouTube videos on it and they think they know the game. So, yeah, I'm here to tell you, as a Dead Island veteran, Dead Island will always hold a special place in my heart. I will always love this game, but Dead Island 2 is the better game. It really is. Yeah. Driving is just padding, and by the time you get here, if you're on a PlayStation and you try to get one of these cars, like the visors are going to be down, you're going to be driving around half blind. Driving's not cool, and it's not cool here in this part of the game. Zombies throwing like weapons at you, and it either almost kills you or just outright kills you. That's not fun. Escort missions that go horribly wrong, and the game loads you back in, and you've lost half your weapons, and you're still having to do the mission, and you're totally off your game. That's not fun. Yeah. There's a lot to love about Dead Island. But it's not the better Dead Island game. Dead Island 2 is better. I'm sorry. It's just true. Alright? So, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not trying to sugarcoat Dead Island 2. I'm just telling you honestly. Dead Island 2 is the better game. That's really all there is to say, my darlings. Anyway, you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and I will catch you on the flip side.